I did. I
Okay.
did. And it worked. And it
You
worked.
went live? Okay. Just did it.
All
Hi,
right.
guys.
Hi. I am so lucky to be on here right now
Uh-huh.
because I have checked. I've had computer issues for now, what, 2 weeks? 2 weeks.
Somebody
And
out there want to buy Gina a nice new computer, please?
yeah,
Because that
please.
I just built a castle with all her F-bombs. Trust me.
I know all my money just went to Mama D and my cuss jar, so I can't afford a computer. But I really need one. Honest to God, it was insane, and I could not get it
Hey, Pookie's in the
to
room.
work. Pook's in the room. Hi,
Pook's in
Pooks.
the room.
Let's see if I can't see comments. I'm gonna have her. Oh no, I shouldn't
You
have touched anything.
Minute until showtime.
Can you
go
still
to
see me?
smack
Am I
you.
still moving?
Yes, you're still moving. You're still good.
Okay.
Serious computer issues. She froze and jumped out and jumped back in and jumped back. So
I had
she
to,
had to.
yes, I had to, put the power button down the computer like 3 times, and it takes forever for it to turn back on. And literally a minute, not even, before we
Mhm.
went live, I got back on here again. I was ready to go on my phone. If I freeze, page unresponsive.
It's okay. We can still see you and still see you and still hear you.
I know, but
And
I have to do something. It says exit pages or wait. I'll wait. I'll wait. I'll just hit
just wait.
wait.
Just
Okay,
wait.
just wait. I'm waiting.
Everybody's
I'm
staying
waiting.
high. And,
Hi.
and, and Chris is going, hi, bestie. And she's gone. Okay. We're gonna I don't even know what's going on now. So we're just gonna hang tight a little bit longer because I know that there's a lot of words coming out of her mouth. Okay, it's 8 o'clock. It's gonna be a good day. And our guest is in the groomer. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna start our intro video. And if I have to start it again, I will start it again. Okay, and she just messaged me and said, time to take over, like I have a choice. So here's our new video.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Fox Den. I'm Gina Bankston, an intuitive paranormal investigator. As I am guided by my spirit animal, the fox, I am also known as Gina B, the Parafox. Joining me is my lovely Canadian co-host, Darlene Hill, also known as Mama D. She is a Reiki master and an intuitive oracle card reader. She sends her love, guidance, and healing to you on the wings of a butterfly. We bring you guests with a vast variety of subjects weekly to entertain you, help you, and guide you in this crazy world we all live in. The Fox Den is live on Facebook and YouTube every Thursday from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and all we ask is that you enjoy the show, share the show, especially if you know someone that our guest can help. Please subscribe to the Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D and hit that notification button so you never miss a show. Welcome and enjoy. Hi,
Look, she's back.
I'm on my phone.
So that's okay. That's okay. I'm gonna switch us around so we're in the right positions. Okay, so now we're gonna play our guest intro video. So hang tight, guys. Push the right button.
Good evening and welcome to the Fox Den. Tonight we have Dr. Gary Salyer. He is a transformational relationship mentor. For the last decade, Dr. Salyer has been in private practice offering singles and couples heart-centered transformation so they can rewrite the rules for love in their brains and create a love that lasts. Dr. Gary speaks to a national audience as a featured expert on various celebrity TV and radio shows, such as Hay House Radio and Coast to Coast AM. He is the author of the groundbreaking book, Safe to Love Again, How to Release the Pain of the Past Relationships and Create the Love You Deserve. He also helps you to find a soulmate, get back into the dating game, decide if a relationship is right for you, heal from a divorce or a broken heart, take your relationship to the next level of commitment, figure out what's really missing in your relationship, Rekindle the love and passion you once had as a couple. Replace the conflicts or distancing moves with peace and harmony. Experience intimacy and partnership like you've never felt before. Let's welcome back to the Fox Den, Dr. Gary Salyer.
Okay, so we'll just switch us back to the right position from this. Like Jeannie isn't crazy.
All right, I'm...
Hey, guys.
Okay, there we go. Yay. All right, can you see me and hear me?
We can
Yes.
see you and hear you.
We
Don't
can
touch
see you
anything.
and hear you, Gina.
Yay.
Yes.
All right, why am I getting feedback?
Don't know.
Gary doesn't have headphones on.
Gary
Oh,
doesn't have headphones on. That would be why.
You want me to go get headphones real quick?
Yep.
Yes, because we're going to get feedback.
Okay.
Well, why not add more?
Hey, what is a show without glitches? At least it makes you take a deep breath. And this woman saged like bananas. We were having fun before.
Oh my gosh. I think I invented a couple new swear words today.
I think so.
I think I did.
Okay.
And
How's that? How's that?
That's fine.
much
Can
better,
you hear
much
us?
better. Thank you.
I can hear you.
Much better.
Perfect.
That's good. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully I am not touching anything. Mama, you're going to have to do it all. Okay.
Just sort of remind me what I gotta push.
Yeah. Well, just, the video at the halftime and the video at the end. The
Video
exit.
at the halftime? Do you think you're going to remember to tell me? Or I'll
The
just
video
turn
at
on
the
and not tell anybody.
Yeah, right? I know. Well, I'll probably freeze anyway. But welcome back. Good to have you on this special day and time in the Fox Den. As long as we get it going, then it's going to be great.
I am. No, I'll make sure. Can you?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
So it's
There.
still
Like
using.
that.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Just like that.
Okay. Great. We're going to leave it just like that then.
Okay.
And that's called, in love and relationships, making a repair. So you just saw what it looks like. Relationships are all about making repair, timely, attuned repairs, including headsets, it seems.
Yes.
And computer glitches and errors and everything. I mean, oh my goodness. We had you on. I can't remember how long ago it was. I think it was like at least a few years ago.
Well, it would have been sometime, I think about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago when the book launched.
When it
Because
launched.
Yeah, it was somewhere, I know, after March of 2019, but before the end of it. So about a year ago, I'd say.
Oh, because I was looking back. I was trying to find the archive. I wanted to put up the archive because it was a wonderful show. I don't remember exactly everything, but I just remember that I had the best show with you, the greatest information to put out there. So I'm really glad to have you back because this is a time where it's really needed. And what we're going to be talking about a lot tonight is relationship issues during this time of COVID in the pandemic and being locked in together. So what's like the biggest issue that people have come to you about during COVID?
Well, it depends on whether they're singles or couples.
All right, well, start with couples because couples are bound together and like everyone and families and couples.
I can still remember my son telling me back in, he called me up in early March one Saturday and said, "By the way, you're grounded." What do you mean I'm grounded? It's been a few years, right? And he told me what had just come down from Gavin Newsom. And within 2 hours, I was thinking about what that lockdown was going to do, sheltering in place. And I said, all relationships need space to breathe, to go out and be a me, to pursue your own life, and to come back to a place that's safe, to a place where you've got a home port in somebody's heart. It's time to separate, a time to belong. All couples need both. It's a movement. It's like breathing needs to go out and then come in. And I said, well, if you imagine what happens if you can only take in, you can't breathe out. Right. There's going to be a lot of congestion. And what I realized is that for couples, this was just going to superheat them. This was too much togetherness, too many bids for attention around the clock. It's just going to take the temperature up. And if there's any lasting relationship issues that they have used distractions like working out or, too much TV, whatever they used was going to be taken away and they're going to be facing it. And that was going to take it up even higher. So I knew this was going to be a pressure cooker, an emotional, financial, and space pressure cooker. And it wasn't. And if there was any lasting relationship issues, there was going to be no place to run, no place to hide, and that people would be facing them. And that's exactly what I've seen happen. Too much of a good thing.
That's the full Monty right there, though, right? Because you got everything in the financial. If you're not allowed to go work, so you're together all the time. You're going to be fighting like cats and dogs. You're going to be disagreeing about everything. You got no break, and you got no money. On top of that, you can't pay bills. So now you have all these multiple areas of stress.
Yeah, and if you have a job, now you're both working from home. And let's just for the heck of it, put the kids in school and you've got to be their homeschooler. And you've got to keep, especially if you're a woman, you've got to keep your career going while, you've got 2 or 3 kids to supervise. It is a formula for so much pressure. Now, what happens at emotional pressure? It's got to come out somewhere. And where it's going to come out at is the spouse.
Right.
That's where it's going to come out. It reminds me of, I can still remember a couple I work with and she worked in corporate America where she goes at an executive level. She was saying, I can't have girl time. There's no girl time with other female executives. And I come home so stressed and there he stands.
Honey, I'm home.
And guess who was going to deliver girl time one way or another? Yes. And he was like, girl time? What do you mean girl time?
What is girl time? I'm not watching a chick flick. Let's watch sport.
Yes.
Oh yes. My gosh.
So that's the deal with couples. Just too many bids for attention. And a lot of these issues are coming up that have always been there. What surprised me, I've had a lot of couples reach out to me during COVID. And what has surprised me is I've had 5 couples with over 30 years in the bank saying, wow, we can't handle it. They had found ways to distract themselves rather than deal. And when the distractions were taken away, now you've got to deal with it.
And that's really tough. And how do they do that? I mean, what is a way that couples at home can start? What's the if you're fighting furiously, like constantly, where is the starting point? Is the starting point to get someone like you, a mediator, involved? Or
if it's extreme like what you just described, you're going to need to do some deep work. Right, you are. And the downside is the fighting. The upside is you can actually, it's an opportunity to see what's always been there and then to work it through. The fact of the matter is that there's been research on couples. And every couple, 69% of the issues repeat over time. They're just repeating issues. If you've observed them on their wedding night and maybe the wedding week, stay with the wedding night. Just thinking about that metaphor for a second. Just leave that to them. No cameras, please.
Please no.
You said it.
No, we don't want to go there. But if you observe them just right past the honeymoon, okay, we'll just get ourselves straight here. No humor isn't a bad thing here. And you will notice that the 69% of the same issues will repeat over and over. 20 years later, you'll see the same things. The only difference between the masters who know how to make love last and those who don't is they know how to turn the disagreements into dialogue. They have more secure ways of dealing with it. Yeah. And that's the upside of COVID. When it takes away the distractions, it gives you a chance to look at the things that have separated you or superheated you, so you can actually get back to the love you deserve. That's what I've helped All the couples do that came to me. Not all of them were married 30, but they found a better love on the other side of working these things through. Now, generically, I think every couple during COVID has to deal with this sheltering in place, this too much belonging, as I put it. And there's 3 helpful hints, if you're interested in that, that generically every couple can do. Well, if you know you've got to create me time for each other. Me time. And me time, you've got to be able to carve out, what do you need for me time? Where do you have it? And how do you signal for it? And set up new rules. Consciously decide there has got to be some time where there's no bids for attention. That's what me time is. You can't walk in the room and say, I know you're having me time, but I've got this big hairy thing, unless it's a bad, emergency, right? Right. So we know that during suppers, they videotape couples. In a half hour, couples can make 200 bids for attention or support in a half hour and 45 minutes if they're talking like over supper. These, we are not made for bids all the time. Now, successful couples actually turn toward their partners 86% of the time. If it falls under 50% and they turn away or they turn against and they don't actually try to meet that bid, that's when they get in trouble. But you've got to get some time away from it. So you've got to sit down and say, okay, if this sign is up, that means, or if I'm in that room or I'm sitting in that chair, or from 10 to 12:30, or from, whatever it is.
From 9 to 5, don't bother me.
Yeah, 9 to 5. Well, we may not be able to get a window that large sheltering in place, but it'd be nice. I mean, I'm sure in some quantum universe that's happening, but not so much in this one. Now, okay. So that's one thing. The other thing is you've got to make every feeling okay. During this time, there's going to be all sorts of feelings. There are going to be hopelessness. There's going to be abject fear and terror. There's going to be anger. There's going to be disappointment. And to make it okay. Now, that means settling in on the feelings. If you're guys out there, listen up to this one. You don't fix it, you listen. You spend 10 minutes each day listening to how their day went, and you concentrate on the feelings. It's called a stress-reducing conversation. Now, this conversation,
venting. We want to
let them vent. Let them, my God, I feel like I'm going to lose my career. And you go, well, honey, if you could get just on LinkedIn, you might be able to get ahead of the curve. No, don't do that. You say, well, gosh, honey, that's terrible. What else are you feeling? Oh my God, I'm feeling like, I'm getting behind. I'm doing this. And she goes, oh, that's terrible. What's the worst part of that? And you are just there emotionally.
Yeah.
Now, if you could, 10 minutes a day, helping each other process feelings. Okay. Now, and by the way, the word I feel that is not a feeling. That was never a feeling. I feel sad. I feel scared. Now, the other thing is you have to have the contract between two partners that only one freaks out at a time. If one is freaking out, the other one has to hold the secure base. So you're processing feelings. Yes, one freaks out at a time. They're pointing to each other.
I'm the calm. Exactly. I'm the calm one. Just to put 2 cents in there, you're talking about couples like husbands, wives, and spouses and that type. But does it work as well for people who work together?
Oh, yes, absolutely. If you're working together, that would relationships are attachment resistance runs. Yes, it's okay to sit there and someone's on the crying. Oh my God, how's your day going? You could say, Gina, how, I see you had those computers. Your work wife. Oh, right. I haven't heard that phrase. That's great. Work wife. I like it. So you could sit there and say, like Gina, it looks like you had a stressful day. Tell me about it. What that computer says, that sounds horrible. What were you feeling?
Like I wanted to hit it with a sledgehammer?
Yeah, she did. She said that. She didn't do it.
Yeah, and what else were you feeling, Gina, when you wanted to hit it that hard?
Well, that would have made me feel better, but I was just feeling so frustrated because I couldn't get online so I can get onto this show and get this word out. And it's very important to me that this works and that
Yeah,
it goes smoothly.
that must have been really frustrating. I could get that. I mean, here you have such big purpose. Oh, yeah, I get
It
that.
was horrible. It was horrible. And I had to keep rebooting the computer, and it was just a nightmare.
God, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. I get.
Right?
Oh my, yeah.
Take
Those are
notes,
just horrible
people.
numbers.
Take
Yeah,
notes.
that-
All right,
That's how
everybody?
you have a stress-reducing
Yeah,
conversation.
okay, because I didn't do that. When she said
Yeah.
she wants to
You
hit the
laughed.
thing with a sledgehammer, I said that'll make you feel good now. But once
Now.
it's done, once you finish sledgehammering the thing, you'll be mad at yourself all over again. So just take a deep breath. Okay, now let's just take. And she go, "Can you hear me?" I said, "Yes, I can hear you. I'm still here. I'll be right back. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be right here."
Yes. I mean, there's a time to do the fix-it mode, but especially
Right.
for men out there, we respond to women with fix-it, and that just puts gasoline
Oh,
on the fire.
It does. It gets us very angry. Very angry.
Yeah.
Because we
Yeah.
know the fix. We haven't
Yes.
been able to do the fix. So we are going to do the fix. But we just want to get it off our chest, and we just want to vent about the issue. And that's it. I'm not saying go out and rake the leaves because I'm complaining that the leaves are falling off the trees. I'm not saying go out and rake. I'm just saying, the leaves are falling off the trees.
Yeah. And if we try to fix it, we either make them wrong or we make it about the situation. And connection is like, I can step into you and I can feel what you're feeling. That's when we feel connected. That's why fixing doesn't work. But if we can step in and you feel like I can feel into you, you feel felt, as I put it, that's connection. And if couples can have 10 minutes a day, most days, where they can give that to each other, then that releases the feelings. So the stress isn't getting inside the relationship. It's already inside the house. We've got to keep it out of the we, so to speak. So that's a key. You create some me time. And the third thing is, it's not just about sharing about negative feelings, but for God's sake, remember why you got together and share positive feelings. And and you've got to remind each other, why you fell in love. And the best way to do that, there's research here. You can turn a relationship around in 2 to 3 weeks if every day the couple can take one moment and say something they appreciate or grateful they're about their partner and give an instance of it. So what I really like about you, Gina, you're so resourceful. Like the time your computer was failing in front of and before, just 5 minutes before Facebook, and you were able to pull it together with that alternative way of getting on, whatever. And that's how, or you mama, what I really appreciate is how settling you were when Gina was bouncing a wall. You came in like this settling good thing, and then that's the show went on, and you could just see how you were a rock for them, and I so appreciate that. Now, doesn't that feel good?
I really like him.
I know. I adore him. He's like this every man and woman really needs this book. And also, when he was saying, there's the book. I didn't want to touch any buttons.
No, you're not touching buttons.
But that is the book. And please get it. It is interactive. There are, what he was just saying, listing things. Like there are things in there every so often. Like my lists are things, what do you want? List things that you really want in a relationship with your soulmate, right? My things are, no jealousy. I mean, trust. You know what I mean? Things like that. Issues that and stuff that things that come at me that I get accused of that I don't do. Stuff I want out.
Yes.
Those are the things that I put down. And I mean, I'm sure other people be like, I want love and I want attention and I want flowers and I want this. And I'm like, I just want normalcy. That's all I want, trust and normalcy. And that's it.
Yeah. And normalcy it's funny. Normal is normal for each, and that's a little different from everyone. I saw something on Facebook that was hilarious. It looked like a 50s mom with a 50s daughter, and the daughter says, "Mom, what's normal?" And the mom goes, "It's a setting on the dryer, honey."
So very true. Oh, this is true.
It's true.
Now-
I laugh myself silly
Oh
at that
my
Facebook post.
Oh my
Now,
God.
you're saying that most men are fixers, but the percentage of men might be high in fixers, but there are women who do that too.
Oh yeah, and especially as women have gotten into the workforce and they've gotten more into their masculine to do so. But and the reason now it's important for I think men to understand why it's important to echo back feelings and to give actual feelings yourself. Women's brains have emotional processors on both sides of the brain. Men are only one. That's so that if we're on the hunt and the boar comes back at us, we have a place to go that doesn't freak out. So we're not supper that night. They are, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, women's radar is emotional. You know how radar sends out something, a beam, and then it bounces off and it comes back. Now,
Right.
imagine if you're at O'Hare International and the radar sends out to all the planes and all the planes come back. But if one of them doesn't send back, that radar beam and it just disappears, people get really upset. Where are they at? And when we men don't give those feelings, women's radar is emotions. How they know where they're at is with emotions, where they're at in a relationship. And they ping us emotionally. They ping the world and if we come back with no emotions, somebody says, "How are you feeling today?" "Well, I feel that it was a hard day." No, that's not the same as saying, "I feel a little disappointed that my boss was thinking of cutting the whole division." That's a little different. Now she's got something, or "Oh, it's okay." We've got to give women real feelings, and if we tell them that we can hear and receive their feelings and get it right with them, now they feel like everybody's, like the air traffic controller. They know where the planes are. Nobody freaks out. But if men get that, women ping the world emotionally to know where they're at. And it's just kindness and decency to give them a ping back. It's not going to kill you. These feelings that we're so afraid of, it's okay to have them, right? I mean, men want to say, "I will fight any dragging, slaying beast," right? "I will climb any tree."
Yeah.
But just don't make me look at the feeling.
Well, or some of the opposite, there's some men are like too feeling, and it's like, oh, come on now.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, that may be, but men entitled, I would say, I don't know what that means. I know that men get a lot of feelings. I mean, a lot of messages. We can't have our feelings. And it's not just from men. It's important for us to be able to say, yeah, that's a bummer. And I feel really disappointed about that. Because most men, if you're growing up, you get to be happy, horny. I mean, horny, what's after horny? Anyway, but it's happy and horny and maybe angry,
Hungry.
right?
the brain is right
Hungry,
there.
yes.
I swear that's like the man thing. It's like they feel like if they don't have sex constantly, then the relationship is over. It's like, well, that's so not true. There's more to the relationship than just sex. And a lot of men are like
Exactly.
obsessed with it, obsessed. And
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
A lot of women can't have sex constantly, right? Because a lot of women have.
Well, if you're stripped of your feelings,
if you have to do that,
if you're stripped of your feelings, the way the traditional sex role for males is, what's left but sex to connect with? That we have been told to channel it through a very narrow place, our attachment and our bonds. And now this is something I tell a lot of husbands, connection is what really creates sexuality, especially for women. There's been a study that when a man was willing to give a 6-second kiss when they went to work, not one of these little husband kisses, but a real 6-second oxytocin producing kiss, because it takes 6 seconds for the kiss to create. That means you grab her and that's a count to 6. Right.
Okay, wait a minute. If Bob does that now, I'm blinking you in the chat room.
Hi,
put,
Ellie.
put,
He said,
put Bob in the chat.
long day,
Okay.
long day at work.
And you give a non-sexual, don't, hug that's just about not grabbing for any body parts, just a real hug. And you check in a few times during the day, maybe a text or I wonder how's your day doing, a quick 2-minute call. All you have to do is you have these two beautiful, nice rituals of connection when you're leaving, and a 6-second kiss, a really good hug, a little conversation, how was your day, and a few check-ins. 75% of the time these men make a sexual advance, they get answered with a yes. Now, let's go to the guys that just give a husband kiss back, or they just walk away and they don't check in, and they don't give non-erotic hugs, and they kind of go do their thing, and they come back and they don't check in. Those men, when they make sexual advances, they get a 6% yes rate. So what feels better, guys? A few check-ins and a couple of kisses and 75%, or do your own thing, walk your own way, and get met with resistance 94% of the time? Which feels better to you?
Right. See, so women that are listening to this now, or listening to this later on any of our anchor venues, share it for your men. Share it for your significant other. Share it for your partner, whatever kind of relationship you're in. Man, woman, man, woman, whatever kind of relationship it is, because this is important stuff. This is important information. Now, your background. How did you get here? Because you had 2 divorces before you found the answer, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
So you're a man who walked this walk. So it's not like it's coming out of left field for any of us. All right.
No.
This is definitely a learning.
Well,
but what made you study it?
I believe my soul signed up for the childhood I had and the experiences of what I call lesson partners. That's my honorable way of referring to them, lesson partners. So that I could ask the questions that would lead me to write this book that a lot of therapists are saying is groundbreaking. I've had multiple ones contact me, neuroscience, saying, my God, you've cracked the code, right? But it started way little. Yep, there it is. 7 years old. I can still remember being at this drunken party with my aunts and uncles. And even then, I realized several of my aunts had taken up drinking when they had never drank before, because it was better to be drunk with your husband than to be left alone at night. But there was a lot of mean drunks. And I remember thinking at 7, why can't adults be more loving? Why do they have to be mean? Right? And that's how a 7-year-old say it. And I said, I don't want to be divorced. I'm not going to get divorced. So flash forward 11 years later, and I tell everybody, and I'm the first person to graduate from high school, let alone go to college and get a PhD in 7 generations. Sort of broke that mold. And I decided to get 2 majors. I'm going to do psychology, and I'm going to do religion. I'm going to cover the bases, right?
Yeah.
And my senior year, my very favorite professor in the psych department says, hey, I've got this new personality test. I'd like to run it, get some tests. Why don't you come on in and take it? So I come in and take it. And then he sees me in the halls a few days later. He says, hey, come on by this afternoon and I'll give you the results. So I come by and he gives me all the results. I find out I have a personality. And I swear to God, as I'm walking out the door, I'm about ready to turn right. He says, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, you have a 90% chance of getting a divorce. And I stopped and it was like grenades going off. What do you mean? I'm a senior to graduate in 2 months and I still got a 90% chance. I only shaved off 10%. I literally thought about it. And 2 hours later, I had delayed graduation to get to go a 5th year to get another degree in marriage and family.
Wow.
That's how
one conversation. I thank God for that one conversation, that one comment, because that led you to here right now.
It did. Well, and I thought I had done all the work. I had like three, they're there with 3 degrees. By the way, he and I talked. He's still 86. I talked this summer and he remembered that conversation. It's funny.
Wow.
That was hilarious.
That is
and,
awesome.
and,
You changed your life, you know?
but then 13 years later, after all that work, there was the bombshell. I want a divorce. And I couldn't believe it. I had done all that work.
Mm-hmm.
So after the divorce, I did like 7.5 years of therapy. I said, man, this time I'm okay. I'd already done counseling before, but I'm going to do it again. So now I've got like over 10 years of therapy, right? And I said, okay, I'm good to go. I've got degrees, I've got therapy, and I sign up for a second marriage. And within months, I watch it crumbling around me, and I'm going, oh no. And 4 years later, there I am talking to another therapist about what happened. And then I began to notice that I either showed up as Mr. Wrong, some part of me scared of being hurt again, or I would find someone who was Miss Wrong. One way or another, the patterns never changed. And one day after a particularly painful breakup, I looked in the mirror and I said 2 things. I said, son, you can no longer blame this on women. You're the only common denominator here.
Right.
And
Matt, listen.
Yeah. And then I said, I have done 13 years of therapy. I've got degrees. I've done workshops. I can speak the parlance as much. I said, nobody should work this hard to get this little results. And then I thought, and I literally thought, Gary, you're a smart man. If they can't crack the code, I will. And I realized in that moment, that was my life's purpose. And I said, I will find out how I can get my way back. Because I have 2 friends of a 40-year marriage. I go, what they've got, I want to get the road back. And that's when I did the research and I came up with, and I started from scratch. I said, let's not start from the pathologizing model of therapy. It does a lot of good. It did me a lot of good, but it did not substantially change me. Now, that's not knocking therapy. I've trained with therapists and got some good things, but my model is not about where you're wrong, where you're broken, but it's about these rights you were given from life itself when you were born. If we can restore those and we can restore these 4 key feelings of welcomed and worthy and cherished and empowered, that's at the key of every secure, loving, what I call love style that makes and creates really great relationships. That's the road back. Now there's hope. Now there's deservingness. And it took me, a few years to working with clients, doing the research. And this is the way back. As one therapist said who worked with me after about the 5th session, she has worked in the field for 30 years with couples too. And she goes, my God, you've changed my attachment style. I thought I was told you couldn't do this. And the next session, she goes, I'm using your system with my couples. It's just better treatment and diagnosis. So, the point being is, it was looking at what was good and what didn't work and saying, there's got to be more than this. And there's got to be a way back. And that's because I wasn't willing to die without knowing what it's like to have what I call a secure love style. And I think for everybody on the planet, that's your birthright. And this book is about the roadmap back to the home port of your own heart so you can have a place in someone else's heart that feels safe and secure and warm and luscious and passionate and all those other good things. So if you want to know, it was out of all that.
Put the book back up, Mama.
Yeah, I told you that's all you had to do. Just tell me what to do.
There it is.
Keep it up there for a little bit.
Go ahead, keep talking, Gary.
So if you're interested in where the book is, it's on Amazon. So I published it on Amazon. But the point being is what I cover in the book is between 0 and 3. Sometimes later experience counts. I'll grant you that. But all of us, we know from the time a baby is 1 year old from attachment science, That's the science of how your brain is wired to love and be loved. That you can, a baby between 10 months and 18 months, you can find out from how they relate to their mother when they're separated, if they have a secure attachment style or anxious or avoidant. Now, what in the world can possibly tell a 1-year-old to they can be securely loved or they're not? You know, now,
Independent, not being, if you're left alone,
yes,
I mean, it's like touch and love and hugs and,
it's simple things, but it's not limiting beliefs the way a lot of us have been told, because the part that does limiting beliefs, the prefrontal cortex, does not come online till 3. So it can't be that. And so that's not logic, it's not limiting beliefs, it's not identity, who we say we are, it's not story, it's feelings. The only thing that tells that child they are loved, and they can expect to be loved, or they can expect to be loved anxiously, or they have to get it all by themselves, like the avoidance do, or to dismiss their feelings because they don't have attuned responses. What tells them are feelings? And then I ask the question, so which feelings are the ones? And by doing some carefully noting what heals clients and the research, welcomed with joy. When the mom goes, "Ooh, little one, there you are, so cute. There's the little Mama D. There's little Gina. So glad you're here." Right now, that translates. As an adult, who doesn't want to wake up in the morning and hear a partner beside you go, "Good morning, gorgeous. Good morning, handsome." Yeah. That's welcomed with joy. You walk in at night and you hear, "Honey, you look great," or "You look like you're really sad. Come over here and get a hug." That's welcomed with joy. That's so that, it translates. These 4 feelings we get become our GPS. The other one is worthy and nourished. That you are worthy to reach out for your needs. That it's okay to reach out and to expect a timely, attuned response. That you are cherished and protected, which means I get to go out and explore and be a me, just like we're talking about earlier with couples, but to come home to a we. Not all me like an avoidant would, or not all we like an anxious, somebody who's maybe a little more codependent would be. It's a right to separate and belong, to be cherished for your essence. And then someone wants to protect that essence that they only see in you. And then the last feeling is empowered with choice. You get to create your own experience. That means that somebody else doesn't get to be the standard of your experience. You don't get lost in relationships. People share influence with you, and you get a right to assert. You get a right to have a say in a relationship, to speak your truth. If you got the feelings of welcomed and worthy and cherished and empowered, your brain goes, "I feel pretty loved. I can be secure." But if you got any less than those 4 feelings, say you got unworthy, or unwelcomed, or unworthy, or not so cherished, or disempowered, then your brain says love isn't so safe. Maybe it's better to be anxious and I need to lock this thing down, or I need to be anxious and I need to avoid it, and I need to avoid love. I need to be on my own. So the key here is if you can restore the brain so it feels safe to feel welcomed, safe to feel worthy and reach out, safe to feel cherished in a we, safe to feel empowered. You store those so you feel them, not just know about them, but feel them in the back of your brain and in your body. Then you will pick differently, because worthy people don't pick takers who never give back to them. Disempowered people don't find somebody who will try to dominate them, or they won't lose themselves in a relationship. Restore the feelings, give them some skills to give and take in a relationship, and you can restore that brain to be secure. That means they're going to pick someone instead of the same recurring person. That's Mr. Wrong. They're going to stop the patterns in their relationship, because all couples are dealing over dueling missing rights in the relationship, these missing feelings. And if it's about restoring the feelings, so again, men, just notice
safe and secure is so important. I mean, if someone sits there and threatens, to leave every time that there's an argument, that does not bode for making someone feel safe, right?
Yes.
You know.
Now, you had brought up
Mhm.
codependency in that.
Mhm.
Describe what codependency is and how that works in a relationship. Well, actually, doesn't work, but how it interferes with the relationship.
Okay, I almost never use the word in my room practice, but I know that more people understand the word out there in radio land, right?
Right.
For me, that's a more of a pathologizing the way
Right.
therapy is talked about. There's something broken in you, right? Something's wrong, and nothing was broken. If any of those feelings were taken off the table by your brain, it was because it was the best deal available at one point in time.
Yeah.
The brain never gets up in the morning and says, I'm going to screw with my master. It never does that. So when
I
I
do
hear
that.
codependency, I ask something very differently. I go, okay, so they are. So what's the exact flavor? Do they not have a right to reach out for their needs? So they're always giving, giving, giving that flavor? Or are they the sort of person that never got a right to separate and they always felt they had to be enmeshed in a we? Is it that flavor, no cherished and protected, no ability to be a we, all to be a we, all ability to be a we and not a me? Or do they have a missing right to create their own experience where somebody else gets to be the standard? Now, someone who gives too much because they don't feel worthy, and someone who doesn't have a chance to feel cherished, and another one who doesn't feel empowered, those are different cures for something that someone loses themselves in a relationship. Okay. And so for me, it's like, I just ask, so do they need to feel worthy? Do they feel a little more cherished or a little more empowered? That's how I look at it. And then if you can, so instead of saying you're codependent and you've got this nice little label, and labels in $5 might get you something at Starbucks, we'll just kind of notice that. This is a roadmap. Oh, you just didn't have a right to have your needs met. Doesn't that feel better than to say, I think you're a little codependent?
I know,
Yeah.
because everyone, it's true. Everyone harps on these words, and it is media that puts them into play, basically.
Yes.
And everyone says, "Oh, well, you're codependent," or "Oh, you're," or whatever. All the things, and the kids that need the ADHD and things like that. Now, what about like the relationships between parent and child?
Okay. And what specifically? Because, in the book, I talk about what goes on between parents and kids that sets up these templates, these rights or non-rights, right? And I've even had parents tell me there's about 15, 20 pages that deals with how these things get set up in childhood. I don't know how many parents of young children that I've worked with, the couples, the mom and the dad, would go, my God, I read the book, we thought it was about us, and you made us better parents. So what about parenting are you asking? Because that's a big question, Gina.
Well, it is. All right. So, okay, now again, COVID, people are home, and kids are more computer savvy than a lot of the parents.
Yeah.
And the parents have to be now the teacher. All right. So you had brought that up. So that's the kind of mentality that I'm in right now, is this COVID thing. All right. So now we're stuck in the house, and the parent has to teach the child. Everybody wants the computer. So again, there's friction. It's just so much friction. But how is it that you can deal with the emotions of the child being frustrated with the parent because they don't know, what's going on, or the lessons are different, they're more advanced, they're learning things that we didn't learn, things like that. We just don't know. So how is this dynamic going to get better when they're bouncing off of each other? Like, well, you don't know
Yes.
this. I don't know that. I'm sorry, I don't know that. But let's, try to do this together.
Again, the heart of parenting is what's called emotion coaching. Now, I know that kids have to learn their algebra and stuff like that, but never forget that your primary goal is to emotion coach your children. And we know what good emotion coaching is and what poor emotion coaching is. And by the way, spouses should be good emotion coaches with each other too. We know that that if a parent that good emotion coaching parents what they'll do is when their children are young, say they're learning a new task, like maybe tying your shoes, what they'll do is these parents will really understand their feelings, but they will give them a small amount of instructions, and then they will come in and they will, and instead of looking for what's wrong, they're looking for what the kid did right. Small amount of information, come in and praise them the first time they do something right, and they are all there with lavish positive emotions. And if the kid is, it does have something like he falls and, and he or she, skins their knees. Like once my son was doing that, he was like 2.5 and you could see the look of surprise. And I said, who knew that sidewalk could jump up and bite you like that? That must feel scary. And he goes, yeah, it is scary, because he didn't even know his feelings. Our job was to step in to help them understand their feelings, even if as a, and to help them how to process it and to look for what's right. Now, the non-good emotion coaches, what they do, they give all sorts of long, hairy instructions, and they'd sit back and wait for the first time the kid did something wrong and pounce in with more instructions and no ability to give praise. They don't help. They don't name emotions. They don't help the kid process it. So if you're there, focus, give the kid a stress reducing conversation too. How was your day? And just, so what were you feeling today? Man, the internet right down in the middle of your test. Oh my God, that must have felt frustrating. No, it was anger. It was anger. Tell me more about that anger. I could totally understand that. You want to be a good emotion coach first and foremost. If you can do that, if you are an ally, if they get you, you can feel into their day, then they will be far more willing to put up with, yes, you do have to get your algebra done and stuff like that. Yeah. If you've got to build that emotional coach, a bank account with a kid, you just do. You have to let them know, I am always there for you.
Right.
Cherish and protect
you have something on your mind.
Yeah. And teaching your child about emotions, being the emotional coach for your child, also teaches them to accept their emotions, so that when they grow up, they can understand others' emotions. Yeah. So it's
we grew up in the house where it was, children are like
seen and not heard.
Yeah, you make it, and then if we stood in front of the television, we were, made a better door than a window. Then
that was good.
All those sayings that that we had.
Yeah.
Being dismissed.
Well, it's like in my family, there was no divorce in my family. Growing up, there was no divorce in my family. So when my husband and I married, I told him, there's no such word as divorce in my family. Then I said, wait a minute, there is. It's spelled MURDER. So we're still together.
Oh my God.
So we're still married after 30 plus years, so we're good.
So speaking of that, all right, what about the loss issue? When losing a spouse. I mean, how can you help someone? Like I lost my husband, not by murder.
Not by murder.
No,
yeah.
But I wasn't around. So
how long ago, Gina?
It was 2/7/11.
2/7/11.
Yep. Wow. Craps. Really. Literally,
Oh wow, yeah.
2/7/11 is craps. Yeah, heart attack, and gone. So, I mean, it's like, and then you go into all the I think I cried for a long time, but I had to go into the phase of he had businesses, I have businesses, I have responsibilities, all the stuff. I had to close down businesses and get rid of equipment and sell trucks and do all these things. And, and in the meantime, and I was a business owner. I had 2 businesses. He had 1, and I understood how businesses work. And I just shut everything else down and went into that mode directly.
Yeah.
But you have all the people calling you saying, oh, well, he owes money here and he owes money there. It's like, I'm his bookkeeper, so I know where he owes money. So don't try to pull that on me. And I guess apparently a lot of that happens. So the people the scam artists come out of the woodwork, and I feel horrible. But my neighbor across the street lost her husband not too long ago, and my neighbor up the street just lost her husband Friday night. As a matter of fact, I'm going to the wake tomorrow night, and
Yeah.
it's like, so the three of us here, will be like, we can commiserate together about losses of
Yeah.
our husbands. But, the grieving time for me, I just really didn't get a time to grieve because I had to go in to protect my house, get rid of the businesses,
Yeah.
and live, and work. And I
And
would.
what that creates is frozen grief. And the frozen grief, some part has to do all that stuff. And it's like, I remember like when you're watching Netflix or something and you hit pause because you got to get things done. But what does that do? It leaves the image of the pain in the back of your brain's mind and your mind's, the picture. And that grief is always there at some point. When I'm dealing with that type of frozen grief, you have to go back and you simply have to take and stop the pause and let your heart break. To really feel the feelings, let your heart break. To put it in a different context, I dealt with a client they had a soulmate relationship, and her husband dropped dead at 50 on a basketball court. Right?
Yeah, he was 52.
And it was just, and it took her 10 years, and she says, I want to find somebody and I've got to work through this grief. So, we did, and now she's successfully paired up with somebody and they're living together, and I believe they're on the route to get married now, But she had when her son, though, was 11 when all that happened, and he felt like he had never dealt with the feelings, never dealt with the loss of his father. And of course, and that created a bit of an avoidance. And so he worked with me after the mom, and it was taking it off, getting him back to 11, getting him past I'm a young man now, I don't have to deal with feelings like that, to getting back there and to let him sob and cry and let him be an 11-year-old boy instead of getting the message, I have to be the man of the house. No, he was still an 11-year-old boy, right? And to let his heart break. And after a few weeks, few sessions, the grief passes. There's no, that's the only, you've got to let it pass through you, and then your brain can take that beautiful energy and process it and be able to redirect it. The grief is simply the process of, we have an enormous investment in somebody else to get our energy back so we can give it to someone else and get loved again. Can I tell you a story?
It's such a heartbreak, though. You know what I mean? It's just like, I'm in a very committed relationship with Bob, have been for a while, but, when your heart breaks in that way, it's so different. It's not the same as when you leave somebody. They're still there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can go back and you can say something you want to say. Now it's like, it's just gone. It just, poof.
Yeah. I call it the paradise lost pattern. It can come where it just feels like you got kicked out of Eden. And what did you do? Except there was no apple involved.
Right? Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And, life isn't always fair about things like that. It's just not. There is some random nuttiness. Anybody that says it's, and, the great thing is you had a beautiful love that you could honor. And yes, it's painful. And at some point, allowing your brain to honor the love you had and to know that if you deserved it once, you deserve it again. That's the key. A lot of times people go, I don't want to risk that hurt. When I was 20, I was doing an internship, and I was, how should we say it? The jock, Gary, right?
Okay.
And my supervisor, who's a guy in his 40s, because it was an internship, took me to a hospital where there was a young man. They were probably, and a wife. The wife was comatose. She was going to be dying in the next few days. She had, I think, a brain tumor. She had 3 young children, like all under 7. And this man was devastated at losing a 35-year-old wife. And how do I ever love? And we were talking to him, and she was in a coma. She'd been out several days. They expected her to die in the next few days. And I'm listening to this man talk to this 35-year-old, and I don't know what to say. I'm just being 20, and I'm not getting the full gravity of it because I'm only 20, right? And he says, I don't think I'll ever love again. Within 10 minutes, within 5, this woman pulls herself out of a coma. And we hear a voice coming from the bed that says, I forgot what his name, George Michael Smith, if after all the love we've shared, you can't find a way to love again and give that love to another woman who deserves it, then I have failed you as my wife. You must promise me that you will grieve and you will give this love to somebody else. She goes, I want you to promise me you will love again. Because if you can't love again, then I have failed to love you in the way that I have always loved you. And I swear to God, I have never sensed a love like that in my life. It was the first time coming from a family where there's no real love. I got a glimpse of what real love was. And I remember just crying my eyes out. I mean, this woman pulled herself out of the grave to deliver that message. And she slipped back into a coma within the hour.
Wow.
And died the next day.
Wow.
Now,
see that?
That's a powerful story about what real love is. And I checked in years later. About 7 or 8 years later, the guy found somebody, and another really wonderful woman who had children too. But I will never forget that story. And it's like, so that's what, and I remember walking out to the car thinking silently, so that's what love is.
Right.
That's what love feels like.
Right.
And you could have cut the love with a knife. It was the most beautiful act. It was astounding. And I don't think that was an accident. I think that was one of those little pieces that, higher self or whatever put on my path to say, okay, this path. And I didn't realize I was going to go down the path of being a love mentor at 20. I was thinking how I had a better jump shot.
Right.
How can I get a better vertical lift? Right. That's all I was thinking of, but it's one of those little seeds. And I think that's what grief is. It's the way of pulling it back in. Yeah. So you can give it to somebody else. Now, I get that maybe not everybody had a great marriage like that. And the grief, there's different forms of grief where you have to work through so you can find somebody. But I think for those who, like yourself, are widows and widowers from good marriages, it's the best way we honor the one who loved us is to take that beautiful love and to give it to somebody else who's deserving. Because I know a lot of single women out there who are wanting to find good men. And that's one way of spreading love in the world.
Absolutely.
Grief, release, move on, and reinvest.
And on that note, we're going to go to take a little short break.
Yeah.
Okay.
When we get back.
Cool.
3 minutes. 3 and 3. The Fox Den is now proudly sponsored by Vortex Ghost Gear, one of the leading fabricators of paranormal equipment. Bob Christopher is the founder and creator of Vortex Ghost Gear. He has decades of investigating, starting with his team at NEPA, and as lead in the popular local TV show Ghost Detectives, he has experience of how spirits could be seen or heard. Using this knowledge, he has manufactured equipment for specific scenarios of spirit manifestation and communication. He is the only manufacturer of the popular lifelike trigger prop cats and dogs. Using proximity meters wired to lights and sound, these prove to be highly effective communication devices in the field of study. The HTO, another Vortex exclusive, allowing specific items to be the highlight or trigger of your investigation. For example, place the item on a metal tray or attach directly to any metal object such as keys or glasses that continue to go missing or moved. Ask the spirit to touch the item. The HTO will light. It has a sound option as well. This device was used in Travel Channel's Ghost Nation with great results. The Dome, a static detector, can be the most useful device in your gear bag. This is to back up the theory that the spirits manifest using static electricity. Using several, you can track a spirit, for example, walking down a hallway, setting off each as it passes. The geophone detects vibrations. This is another way to track movement. If a claim is footsteps in the hallway or stairwell, set the sensitivity and place the device in that area. Its band of lights will show a range of vibrations from the slightest tapping, lighting only a few lights, to the loudest thumping, lighting the entire range. The Easy Scan ghost boxes are very popular due to the ease of use. They are custom decorated to the individual or team using them. Bob programs and uses an Arduino-based computer scanning FM waves to potentially communicate with the spirit realm in real time. Every box is unique and all custom hand decorated by Gina Bankston. The V-Pod has a special place for those who love the idea of REM pods. Use this sleeker, smaller, easier to transport device. It is a must-have in your gear bag. Take your investigating to the next level with many of Vortex Ghost Gear's unique and custom creations by Bob Christopher. Visit www.vortexghostgear.com to view all the products and get your equipment today. You can also investigate with Bob and Gina with ghostly excursions, taking people to some of the most haunted locations in the USA. Visit www.ghostlyexcursions.com and join us on our next adventure. And we're back.
We're back.
Did you miss me?
We're back. Yes.
Yay! All right, we're gonna we've been talking a lot about couples and about kids and this and that. Now let's talk about and again, we're going from that grief place to now you're single. So let's talk about
Right.
singles, but let's start with singles during COVID and dating. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, there's a lot of hopelessness out there and a lot of frustration. I've got single clients too. Okay.
Right.
And for some, there's kind of two paths. For one, there's the ones that say, okay, I really want to work on myself and get ready for when this is over. And there are some people that are doing some deep work saying, this is a perfect time to clear up some stuff. And when this is over, I can do it. And then there's the others that, yes, who are, they're wanting to get out there now, but they're scared because let's face it, you don't know who the other person's hanging out with, if they're taking unnecessary risks, and holding hands, kissing, anything else, this gets to be a more dicey thing. But there's an upside and a downside for what COVID has brought to the singles. It used to be because of dating apps, especially like Tinder and Bumble, and also even dating sites like Match, or all the ones that are out there.
Daisy Madison.
Yes,
What?
There's what?
The what?
Daisy Madison.
Which one? Yes,
Daisy Madison? I don't know what that is.
That's where
I haven't
cheaters
heard
go.
of that one.
No.
That's where cheaters go.
Yeah, Ashley Madison. Yes, that's correct. I've never had a client that used it, but I have heard about it, read about it. But they had this thing, swipe left, swipe left, swipe left. Oh my God, did I get a dopamine rush? There might be somebody new. And there was this thing going on with singles where a lot of women especially complain. They get to the 2, 3, 4 month period, and the guy would say, oh my God, you're really cool and we've got some good stuff, but I'm not sure you're the right one. There might be somebody better. And you get this fear of missing out. And what it is, the programmers in these apps know that they've addicted you to a little adrenaline rush. Adrenaline is like, and dopamine. So it's like dopamine is like cocaine. So, oh my God, is there somebody out there? I've got a blonde, but maybe I could get a brunette.
Maybe
a brunette, and she's an attorney, and you get all this stuff, right? and then, but in COVID, and what this does is we know that when there's research here, is that when people are using these this too many choices, that they actually are less satisfied with the choices they make because there's that fear. What did I have?
Woulda, shoulda, coulda, and what if?
Woulda, shoulda, coulda. I mean, I talked with the guy who wrote the preface to my book, Paul Brinson. He used to have an elite matchmaking service in Washington, D.C. And he and I did a show once, and he was a speaker as well. And we closed down a pub afterwards talking, right, in Berkeley, right? But nevertheless, the deed was done, right? And there we were. And he told me that when they first were, they would giving matches, they would show 6 matches to people and what he found out was they would look at it and, oh, there's this one, there's this one, and this one, and they would not invest as much time in any one of them, getting to know them, and they didn't take it as seriously. But there was a book by Barry Schwartz called The Paradox of Choice. And that is the more choices you get, the more you got the woulda, coulda, shouldas, and there's less satisfaction. What he found out is they stopped giving 6, even though they could have. They gave them 2. And now it's precious. Now they take time. These 2, they take time to get to know them, and more people had better results with less choice. What COVID has done has made it harder to swipe left. People are afraid, and you've got this, what I said years ago, let's swipe down. Let's get to know people. And there's more of a chance of finding real love because it's not working with the whole paradox of choice. It's allowing you to swipe down, get to know somebody. Because what's the phrase? The phrase.
Ball moment on this one too. And when
Well, the thing is what is the gateway to commitment? Well, they've done some research on this. Commitment is when you see the essence of someone else that you can't get elsewhere. That's when you say, I'll commit. Until there's an essence to him or her that you can't get elsewhere. And that comes from research. What they did some years ago, they found children who were 3 and 4 who had what's called an attachment object. There's little binkies and blankets and bears, and that you better give them to them when they go to bed or they'll never get to sleep. And they carry them around, or when they get really tired, right? Those things. And they brought them into a lab, and there was this big box that had a cleverly disguised scientist in the box. And they asked the children, can we replicate Mr. Bear or Mr. Binky or the blanket? And what they found out is if the kid was attached but not that attached, they go, yeah, replicate that thing. But if the child was really attached, there was a real deep attachment bond, they go, oh no, you can't replicate Mr. Binky. That's right. That's exactly. That cup is sacred. There's something about that cup you can't get anywhere else. Right. And that's exactly, and what they found out is there was an essence to that they couldn't get elsewhere. It was unique. It could not be reduplicated. And the gateway is what I follow this under cherished and protected. The moment there is something you cherish in that person, that's their essence, that's unique. It may be the way they giggle. It may be the way they laugh, or the way they just love cooking. Whatever it is, there's these little tiny things. That's when you say, I want to cherish and protect that with a bubble of commitment. And there's no more fear of missing out because that essence isn't elsewhere. It's unique. It's that essence. This is by sweeping down during COVID. meeting, but really getting on Zoom. So let's make it practical. So if you're a single, you want to, you find out what sort of lifestyle they're living. You have to get very clear with your own safety parameters. What do I feel safe with? Find out, and then you get to know them on Zoom or Skype, long enough. Take 3 or 4 weeks, 5 weeks, get to know them, find out. And it's better to have 3 or 4 conversations for a half hour rather than these 5.5 hour pseudo intimate conversations that give you a false read. Get a chance to know them. And then the couples can do what I call, they create a temporary, preliminary couple bubble. Now, this isn't the same couple bubble that leads to marriage. This is just enough. I will socially isolate for 2-week quarantine, so make sure that we have nothing to give to each other, and you discuss what will we do so the other feels safe. So you can hold hands, so you can kiss, right? And if you can do that, then you are going to find out, is that person really capable of creating a we? Now, I had one client that did that. They went out about 7 times.
That proves a commitment is there. You know what I mean? Because other people will be like, I'm not going to go through all that. Well, then that's not worth it.
But you have to do it, and it's preliminary. And it doesn't mean you're going to marry them. I had one client they went about 7 times, and she realized he's a wonderful guy, but not quite the one. But that's what so it's not about commitment. It's about making it safe. But you're getting a good read on whether that person. So that guy said, okay, I get you don't feel comfortable with my card game every Thursday with 10 buddies. I really want to meet you. I would really like to pursue a dating relationship. I will give that up. That's cherished and protected.
Yeah, it is.
That is.
Yeah. Now, getting back to this dating app like thing, right now, I tried that, and someone tried to scam me and everything else. I gave up on that. Mm-hmm. But I guess it's worked for some people that I've talked to, and they're still together, and like good for you. It didn't work for me. I found Bob in the paranormal.
There we go.
Yes. Bob Christopher. I think he's the one there. Yes.
Yeah. I never met anybody else, that I never dated anybody else in the paranormal. So, I always said, don't date where you work, and that's where I work. But there was something special about Bob, and that was that. So, but now things that drive me crazy, and I think this would you too, The Bachelor and The Bachelorette shows, I get like, in MTV in general, just in general, all the live shows that they have, and the kids and the living in the houses with 50 million people, and it's like these two are together one day and those two are together the next day, and backstabbing and all this, and this is like what is being portrayed to our children as normal, and they're looking up to these people, and it's like, no, I just so don't agree with this at all.
Well, yeah, reality TV. I watched a season of The Bachelorette. I actually put a story of The Bachelorette in chapter 8. Right.
Yep.
Now it's funny. I remember thinking, somebody said, "Oh, this is just like a real life." And I said, let me get this thing straight. You think I could be dating 25 women simultaneously, put them all in a house to be able to talk, and they all know about that, and I could walk in and keep my life? I don't think so.
No.
You would not pay me to walk into that house. No. 25 women know you're dating all of them, and they've all got a chance to talk to you. That's never going to happen. No man is going to walk into that house he's going to walk the other way. He's going to run the other way. There's no way that guy walks in that house.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It's not normal. That's in real life, they'd all go, well, that 2 timing, and they'd be out the door. And how many times I can't count the number of times that I have picked a date up with a helicopter.
We're gonna fly you to a private island, right? And then they have those the intimate nights and whatnot. I mean, after you do that with someone, why would someone else want to be with that someone? No, yes. I just it hurts me to no end. It makes my skin crawl.
what is really interesting is that about 40% of the bachelorettes chose someone that they actually married. Now, this is really interesting. But for the bachelor, it's less than 10. The women were sorting a little differently.
Because they're on there just for fame and fortune. They want to
Yes.
be on television. They want to be seen. And
the couple that I chose for the book, they got married. They've had kids. Desiree, and I forgot what his name was.
Oh yeah, right. Oh gosh.
Desiree. She was, I don't know the whole plan. I actually met the woman who did the casting for The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, right? So I do know that they've got eyes on certain sorts of scenarios that will get ratings, but they're not against you finding love too, and sometimes it does. But they set it up. I mean, they made sure there was enough people in that 25 that it was going to be some interesting
drama and cat fights and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And what you don't see is very many secure skills for handling conflict. You see a lot of anxious or avoidant blow-ups, right? Like, and you see but you can't, if you read the book, I started to put this and it got edited out. It was in the manuscript before. Just, once you see love styles and you can see these missing rights, look at the bachelor or the bachelorette, and then afterwards ask yourself, who had the secure, even if it's got some fiction, and who was using some of the secure skills. But notice the missing rights, right? Exactly. But you could listen to that. But I don't put much credence in the bachelor, bachelorette.
Like a Bible.
Yes.
It's like a Bible for love. It truly is. I mean, everybody should read this. If you want to be in a good, loving, strong, committed relationship, I'm telling you, this is
Thank you.
That is totally.
I can tell you that once I was on stage in a panel discussing love, and part of the panel, there was one of the bachelorettes and one of the bachelors was on there, and I got stuck between the bachelorette and the bachelor, and I'm going, oh, this is going to be good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I said, it's okay, man. I'll bet you I have better advice than they do. But I looked beside him, and I looked at the universe. I go, really now? Give me a break,
If anyone can handle it, it would be you.
Yes.
How did you handle it?
but I was worthy to be on there because I had better advice than they did.
There you go. So that is perfect. So all right. Now we were talking about, you said go on these dates on like Zoom and Skype and stuff like that. I mean,
Yes.
how do you actually go about like a Zoom date, like a dinner, and you like get all dressed up, have dinner together, a regular date on Zoom? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, you could do that. I mean, a Zoom date, I think the first is a 20, 30 minute to get to know each other. Now, there's some little things. By all means, dress up. I've heard women say, oh my God, they came in the rattiest t-shirt. No, it's like a date. You show up nicely dressed, and don't have dark decor. You got to have light. This is like a professional audition. So, so have the right light, have a good background, right? And dress up, show up like you would as you would at a date. You don't show up in your doggiest t-shirt, right? And the big thing is welcome each other with joy. Now, this means, and I talk about this in the book, but the first date is not about, are they the one? Drop that stuff. Drop it. It's just about, do the pictures look like them? What do I feel about their energy? Attachment. 80% of attachment, the science is your brain is looking for signals from the eyes and the lips. Okay, so you get to see their energy. Do they lean into the conversation? How well do they listen? And when you're just talking, you're getting to know each other. Is there something I can appreciate? Did I learn something about sushi? that I didn't know before, or whatever else, right? But if we stop the whole thing of like a buyer's mentality, and
Yeah.
we just appreciate, we get to know each other, this takes the pressure, because there's nothing worse than thinking I just walked into my final exam cleverly for love, cleverly disguised as a first date on Zoom. Then you have more of them, and you just, schedule it in, and hopefully, you guys, if you're out there, you've got to, you find a couple, if you're dating a few women, because at the same time, it's okay, you're still getting to know each other, but plan times, 20 minutes, half hour is good. Don't go 5.5 hours. It gives a false sense of intimacy. And over a few weeks, you say, how was your day? Just like you would those stress-reducing conversations, and give them a chance to tell them about your day. You'll learn about their lifestyles, learn about their values. Does it feel like there's an energy there you want to connect with? If you do after a few weeks and you've swiped down, you say, that lifestyle feels pretty good. That feels pretty safe during COVID. Then you can share, this is what I would like to meet you, but this is what I need. What do you need? And you talk about it. And if you're both willing to, and one person says, yeah, I'll wear a mask, and the other one says, yeah, I'll give up my, my card deck or my bridge game with me, then you do what's necessary, and then you can get together, and then you could go on, you could go if you want to, if there's a restaurant you want to go to that practices you've got enough distance from others, or you just meet some place that feels safe to the woman, and then if you want to, you can hold hands. Then if you want to, on that date or another date, you can kiss each other. That's the preliminary couple bubble. This is going to take several, weeks to set up, maybe 3-4 weeks. You got to swipe down. And there's nothing wrong with that. And what one single guy that I've worked with said, he says, I found out something. And he goes, and I go, what's that? He says, I found out that getting to know them is a lot better than hoping you can have sex on the first or second or third date. He says, this is actually better. He says, I'm actually getting to know her in a way. He says, I think, and he was a young guy, right? And he said, I'm not so sure that sex doesn't get in the way too early. Bingo, Yahtzee. That, and there's statistics to show that if you have sex within a couple have sex in the first 30 days, that 90% of the time they are not together 1 year from them. However, if they wait from day 31 to 90, 75% of those couples are together a year later. Now, it doesn't predict marriage. That study didn't do that.
Because you're in discovery, and
yes.
and you're learning, and then it's not sex; it's more intimacy than sex. If you're going by sparks flying, then that's like what the whole relationship would be based on. Would be just sparks flying. Well, those sparks are going to go out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes, they do. The sparks flying is just common parlance for your reptilian brain flooding your brain. That's where attraction is, where dopamine and norepinephrine. So you go after someone. But there's a difference between that and getting to know somebody. So it's making love. So and I file that under cherished and protected.
Right. And I love the way that you segment off the book into so many different categories. And you make it to the point where you really understand it, and then either the little quizzy that writes things down, it really makes it more for you, So it's personal, it's a general, it's personal, but it's all in there. It's all wonderful guides.
Well, it's funny. I mean, there's the PhD after my name, and I did something unique in this book. I thought, there's a science to attachment, how we create bonds. And I said, in most books on attachment are high on description, the science, left brain oriented stuff, so to speak. And, and I said, what if the right brain? What if I wrote this from my emotional brain? What does love feel like? That was what I wanted. And I tell the story in chapter 1 that it's about feelings, that way back in the 60s, back there when they didn't have all the high-tech ways of doing counterfeit money, the FBI had a counterfeit division. And when they got new recruits, they had an interesting way of training their new recruits to recognize counterfeit money. And you would think it's by, looking at the serial numbers and where's the I of raw or whatever it is in this place. And there was all sorts of technical data, the color of the green, all of this stuff, right? But that wasn't how they did it. They brought these recruits in for one room where there was money, it looked like a big bank teller, and for 4.5 days, all they did was pass money back and forth, count money, feel money, and they felt it in their fingers for 4.5 days and on fun. And then on Friday afternoon, they slipped the counterfeits in, and people recognized it immediately. They understood this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Not going through all the compatibility lists like search engines do. I got to have this, and this. That predicts nothing. How does it feel? And the book talks about these feelings as your GPS. So if you're in a relationship, whether you're single or you're couple, you're using these 4 feelings of welcomed and worthy and cherished and empowered.
Yep.
To say, am I in a good relationship? Is this relationship, is there something wrong? I tell all of my couples, and you can do this in a moment, right in the moment. If you're in a relationship, if you're single, and you're in a relationship of some type, or you got a friend, 1 to 10, how welcomed with joy do you feel? 1 to 10. 1 to 10, how worthy and nourished to reach out for your needs? 1 to 10, how cherished and protected do you feel? And 1 to 10, how empowered with choice? Now, if you're single, you'll use to decide whether to date somebody. If you're a couple, you decide, did we have a good week, or is there something we need to work on? Anything less than a 7, that feeling needs to be worked on. Okay,
Yeah,
so if you've got,
you're doing that, I'm like, I got a couple 5s in there.
yeah, it's a simple way. If couples check in and then you ask your partner, honey, on a scale of this week, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did I do this week, right? As your partner. And if they say, well, got a 7, then you go, okay, so, what feeling was missing for you? And they go, well, I didn't feel very welcomed with joy when you kept coming home late and saying, I'm really tired. I have to get, I just want to go to bed. And you didn't even ask me how my day was. Or I didn't feel very cherished and protected when, you went out without the mask and you said, and you just came back and I found out you'd been with 3 or 4 buddies of yours and I didn't feel very cherished, right? You can do it like that. If you're dating, after the 3rd or 4th or 5th date, you can say, gosh, how does this guy make me feel welcomed and worthy and cherished and empowered? If you've got all 5 up and 4 run up and running, that's a pretty good, there's still some compatibility issues like values, but that's a pretty good indicator. If not, bye-bye. I had a client that told me that they met somebody on Bumble, and the 6th text, he mentions using some other app to communicate. And she goes, I don't know about that one. And he goes, you're kind of dumb, aren't you? Not very welcoming.
Yep.
Not very welcoming. Or here's one for you. A client comes in, signs up to work with me. And we found out that throughout her life, she didn't have much of a right to have her needs met. And she had no right to ever belong in a we. So she didn't feel very worthy. And she didn't feel very cherished. Those were her missing ones. And by the way, in the book, I show how all of these feelings, or their missing ones, create predictable patterns in relationship. That's the real eye opener.
Yep.
So the way it works out, she comes in the first session. She goes, I met Mr. Jackpot. Now, I am always interested in Mr. Jackpot. The first session, when we haven't done any of the restoring of these feelings and the old picker is still in picking. right? I'm always interested in Mr. Jackpot. Well, Mr. Jackpot was 6'2". He had an Armani suit and he was an attorney. Can you believe that? He was an attorney. Get this. He had read the Five Love Languages by Gary Chapman and he did Pilates, right? And he had read Dostoevsky. Oh my God. How much, this is a jackpot.
There you go.
So now we work on some of these feelings of welcomed and worthy, of worthy and cherished. About 4 or 5 sessions into it, she comes in. She goes, "I'm pissed." I go, "What's going on?" She goes, Yeah, he likes Pilates. He likes to check out the women at the gym. Not very cherished and protected. Not so much worthy.
Right.
So, Mr. Jackpot, bye-bye. So a few sessions later, maybe a month or 2 later, she goes back on time. We've done a lot of the deep work. And guess what? There's Mr. Jackpot again. This time, it's almost the same thing, except he's an MD, right? And they're both 6'2", by the way. They're both 6'2". They're all that stuff, right? Now, I don't know. Maybe his work. I don't know what other designer suit he wear, but it wasn't Armani, right? So, and she meets a guy who's makes good money. He was in IT. He though has got an Hawaiian. He meets her in a Hawaiian shirt, an Hawaiian shirt. He's about 20, 25 pounds overweight, and he's a good guy, decent looking, but he's not Mr. Pierce Brosnan type, right?
Not GQ.
And this time she's using these natural GPS. Your brain's natural GPS system to know if you're loved is welcomed, worthy, cherished, and empowered. Not so much Armani, not so much 6'2", right? And she goes out with both of them, and she says, "I'm going with the guy in the Hawaiian shirt." And I go, "Why?" She goes, he makes me feel like a queen." Now, feel like a queen, there's cherished, there's empowered.
Yep.
Right? Now, that's a way. Now, she didn't use my terms, but yeah, he was really good at giving worthy and cherished. And he was not. Now that she's got a better picker, her brain, it's safe with feeling cherished and worthy. Her brain doesn't choose. Because somebody gives them those old feelings of unwelcomed or unworthy. So the whole point is, if your brain was given these 4 feelings, it becomes safe with these feelings and fixed securely. Now, if you were given unwelcomed or unworthy or uncherished or disempowered, your brain gets safe with that, and you only have what I call the right to that experience. So if you feel unworthy, you'll find someone who's a taker. If you feel disempowered, you'll find a way to find someone who will dominate you, or you'll lose yourself in a relationship and blame them. There's 2 ways of doing that one, right? Now,
it's easy
that's
to do that.
Exactly. Now, there are predictable patterns for all of these feelings. When we shore them up, your brain goes, "Oh, I'm worthy. I don't take the taker. I don't take the guy that won't cherish me." You'll just notice those things. And then suddenly your brain give you some skills, some better skills of when you're in a couple relationship, like how to assert securely, how to manage conflict, how to create a we, how to meet each other's needs, all things like that. Like the stress reducing conversation. I introduce that to every couple because it keeps the stress out. That's a good thing for a couple. When you do all that, 4 feelings, some better skills, a little alignment, you can choose and pick and create much better. If you're a couple, you can get to the root of the problem, start giving each other the feelings your brain signed up for when you partnered up, and you're good to go.
Awesome. You okay, Mama?
Yep. Just had a moment.
What you thinking over there, Mama?
Nothing. I'm listening.
Okay.
So, all right. So we want. I like the me time thing. How is it that you can go about though getting those lines drawn? And say, all right, I want to have an hour of me time, and you have an hour of you time.
Yeah.
But
it comes
what
with
if
it.
what if they don't want to do it?
Well, if you don't want to do it, it's usually because of two feelings. Some part of you doesn't feel worthy to have what you need, or some part that doesn't feel empowered to have a say. Those two work in tandem. You have to feel worthy to reach out, and you have to be able to have a voice to say. That's how you get your needs met. And most commonly, it's not that, it's one or the other or both working in tandem. Now, when I've worked with people to give people what I call more of a right to assert, if they have not had much of a right to assert before, inevitably, for a few months, they're going to assert and just be kind of blunt about it. And that's not it. It's not like there's, Terry Real talks about it. There's a form of empowerment out there in the culture, that says, I was once weak, now I'm strong, go screw yourself. Right? And that's not secure assertion. That's not how a right to assert works. In a secure relationship, I have the right to speak my truth in a way that empowers you to give me what I need, and vice versa.
And
If
vice
it is,
versa. That's important. Vice versa.
yes,
Like even if you say, because sometimes people just can't have conversations, without fighting. So
yes,
it's like, okay,
usually because they lead with criticism or defensiveness or contempt. That'll do it 96% of the time.
the attitude, a look,
Oh
come
yeah,
around the corner, and saying something. It's like, of course, if someone looks at you like, you're gonna get defensive. If they look at you like, hi, you're gonna be like, hi, like with the baby, like, oh, it's a baby, you react to that. So, again, negative attracts negative,
yes,
positive attracts
96%.
positive.
96% of the time, there's what's called a harsh startup. And in couples, the couple goes sideways. And it's also true that 80% of couple fights aren't about the content. It's of the words themselves. It's about the look or the sound of the voice. And you think about this. Every mom on the planet has a look that can stop a 4-year-old in their tracks. There's a look
I can still do it to my 30-year-old.
Exactly. One look, and that 4-year-old is frozen in time. Oh my God, I better make a repair. And the other art for really good couples is to be able to make repairs. 91% of the time, so suggests the research for couples, both partners are not in a place where they have their attention tuned into the other. So they'll miss bids for attention. You got preoccupied, or you had a bad day, or you're just wiped out, right? Those times. And it's important that both partners can offer a repair and receive a repair. What's not often noticed is that sometimes the offended partner wants to play, I'm offended, right? And they don't accept an honest repair. You often hear this filed under the, you're only doing that because I asked for it. That's really deeply unfair. You're only doing, well, of course you asked for it. I'm trying,
You're setting someone up for failure.
Exactly. It's about, and that's when sometimes the person who felt like the victim gets to feel like, oh, I get to be the one panning out the pain now. I wasn't noticeable. I'll show you. This is what it's like to not be accepted. And that never works. That's a grievance. And grievances don't do much for love. You've got to be able to work through the grievances. I once, whenever I meet someone who's got a 35-year marriage or so, I ask them the question, what's your one sentence phrase for what makes love work? The phrase, take no BS, I give no BS, I give no BS, I take no BS. I got that from a woman who was on my stage. It's in the book. It's as good as ever. But I asked one woman, we were at a large group of entrepreneurs meeting together, transformational leaders, and we were talking. I said, what's your 1-minute sound line? She goes, oh, that's easy. A short memory. She goes, if you have a long memory, it's a long marriage. You know,
Okay.
she goes, you got to learn to let it go. You got to let, she says, if the little ones, if all the little moments that you one or the other, she goes, it's a misery box, not a marriage. You've got to learn to let some of the little things go. And you also have to learn to go and make repairs. When couples come in and they're telling me the second session, what's been going on, and they go back to something 15, 20, 25 years ago, I know that thing was never successfully resolved.
Yep.
And the brain needs to resolve it. There are some things you have to go back and work through. Oh, you're not bringing that up again. Yeah, and it's going to keep coming up. That's a fancy word.
And this is important. Don't portray things that you do onto someone else, right? Like because because of something that you have done or you have repeated or something in your past or that's in your brain. Don't put that on your partner because your partner doesn't think that way, doesn't feel that way, and would never do those things. It's really important to not put those behavioral issues on your partner.
I call that the next pays for the ex. If you constantly see your partner from the vantage point of what you'd experienced with either a parent or an ex, I mean, you're not in a relationship with him. You're still in a relationship with the ex. You've got what I call a ghost state, a ghost marriage going on. And it's really not fair. You see it sometimes as someone, say a partner's been cheated on. Now, every time the person deletes a text message, who was that? Who were you talking to?
Yep.
Now that's not fair. That is really not fair. I know you were talking to somebody. No. Why were you deleting that? Not cool. Not cool. No, that sets up distrust, and trust is everything in a relationship.
Trust is everything. It certainly is, because once it's gone, you can forgive, but it's a very hard thing to really forgive or ever get back. Mama, you had a question you wanted to ask before, and I could.
Mama, what you got up?
Yeah. Okay. I've got 2 points or 2 things to sort of put out there. One thing is I had a friend whose partner was a give and take, and I don't know how else to put it. He would come home and say, "Oh wow, you made the dinner is set up and food is all ready, but you didn't sweep the floor." He would give a compliment and then take it back with a negative.
Ugh.
Yeah. And and she couldn't see it, and it's like, how is that? Like when she wants to talk to him, he wouldn't see that he was doing that.
Yeah.
And it went as well to their children, because the children would like, okay, I got a C in class. So the kids are not brainiacs. They're just like average kids. And they got a C in class. You got a C in class, but you could have got a B or an A if you studied more or if you a give and a take.
Well, yeah, I call those, we're supposed to give positive bids. When someone bids for attention, we're supposed to give a positive response back. I call those U-turn bids. I've seen them I've seen them in couples where either you make it about them and turn it about yourself, right? Or you give positivity only to give criticism. At some point, there's some part that says, did I just connect? Oh my God, did I feel close? And some part has to take it away, because getting back to the book, some point in time they learned that having more right to separate than to belong felt better. They have a bit of a split right to separate and belong, more right to separate. So when they give that compliment, they try to belong, but the part says, "Oh no! Remember, did we feel really safe or close?" So it gives criticism as a way of putting that wall there just a little bit, so it creates the distance. At some point in time, and it's just from here, it's kind of hearsay, but I would, in that sort of situation, my antenna would go, so where did the little one realize that's not safe to belong? Or was it emulated in some way? But usually there's not as much right to fully connect. They're putting up little blinders and, or steps between them. And you've got to give them a right to fully cherish and protect the other and feel that way themselves. It's hard to cherish someone if some part says, "I'm not sure I'll be protected myself."
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough thing. It's because sometimes you want to put those things out there, but they're either not going to be received in the way that you're intending,
Yeah.
Mhm.
or they're going to be received with barking, you know, and it's going to be an argument, and then that person may shut down and not do it at all. And then, if you do that, if you choose that route, then you have little teeny things like little dominoes lining up, lining up, lining up, lining up, and then all of a sudden they're going to go bam, and they're all going to come flying down all at once, and then the proverbial shit will hit the fan.
Number
It
two, hit
does.
fan. Yeah.
Yes, it hits the fan and everybody else in the room,
Right.
And
Yeah.
this is why I say the subtitle of the book, you have to release the pain of past relationships. In this, the pain of the past relationship. Getting couples, you have to get, most couples, you got to get this. We have these missing rights I talk about in the book, right? I've been talking mostly, but they give you like a right to have your needs met. And couples will be attracted to somebody who will give them their missing right, because that's
Yeah.
all they have the right for. And then they will constantly be arguing over what I call dueling missing rights. So she doesn't have a right to have his needs met, her needs met. So she marries a guy that doesn't make really good love maps and doesn't really notice her as much. And when she gets fed up, she criticizes. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, he had no right to create his own experience. And after a while, he says, I can't win here. I just have to give her what she wants. And he does for a while. And now, but he does it in a little bit of a pullback way, like maybe you were talking about. And now she doesn't feel right. She has a right to have her. She feels unworthy and he feels disempowered. And now they're circling down. In that couple, two moves have to be made. The first move is to show them the pattern, what the dueling missing right is, the dueling missing feelings, and to show them the pattern. And this is kind of like really new to my work. You have to get them to say, so what if you made the pattern and not the partner wrong? What if you both became a team against the pattern and not the partner? So in saying, there you are again, never noticing my needs, you can say, honey, it looks like the pattern of not getting needs met and then you feeling disempowered, me feeling is in the room again. How can we deal with this? And he goes, yeah, you're right. That pattern is, I was being a little bit that. How do we deal with that? If you can get the couple to stop blaming each other and blame the pattern, and now what's the cool move here? They became a we.
Yeah.
Battling against the entity that is,
And the we is everything in a couple.
So
You got to turn them into a we.
a power couple, and they can be like the Avengers.
Yes. Yes.
Against the, the pattern. And it is a pattern. I mean, it's definitely a pattern because it will be the same thing over and over again. And that's the insanity of it all,
Exactly.
So, yeah, you can break it.
69%. The Gottman research says 69% of marital problems persist over time. 7 out of 10. They'll be there forever. Why? Missing rights. But you can adjust that. You can adjust that. I've done it with a lot of couples. But the point is to get them to say, thank you. Some part of my brain was safe with that pattern. Now, how can we choose better? And when they get better, and now they're not, and then what, like if you give them back that, now he makes her feel worthy and she turns around and makes him feel empowered. Now they spiral up. That's how love lasts.
Right. And they can go up on that big love balloon that you have there on the safe to love.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. That's absolutely it. And there's a little story about that cover.
What is it?
Years and years ago, I had a dream. This was when right after the moment I said I was going, I started doing the work and I decided to, this was 12, 13 years ago. And I said, I've got to change my life and I want to do this new thing. And I had this dream where the wall behind me went translucent and there was this blazing light. I'm dreaming this, by the way, just filling the room. And when I turn and get up, I can look through my wall and there is there's a hill. It's like dawn. It's still dark, and I'm in a path, and there's a forest to my right, and I'm walking up this path to this hill that all I can see is this blazing beams of light. I can't even see the sun, right? And when I get to the top, I see the most blazing sun that I've ever seen. I mean, bright beyond, on the horizon, shining. And I realize it is, the spirituality of it was this. I was looking directly at source. That's a term,
Yep.
and the message was, don't give up. A new day is about to dawn in your life. Because I was feeling kind of hopeless at the beginning. I knew what I wanted to do, but how do I get there? And it was this blazing. And me and my team went through maybe 20 covers. And then at the end, she came up with that. And the moment I saw that sun, I said, my God, it's the dream 12 years ago. And I knew that would be the cover. And then they got then we had to work on the, what type of balloon it would be and the lettering of love and all that stuff. And there was all sorts of things. But, and it was meant to talk about love that comes through the pain and rises.
Yep. I do. I love it. It's perfect. It's perfect. It is absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Yep. And I do understand that beacon, that light, that transformed me at one point too, when I was at a real turning point in my life, and that light came to me, and thank God it did. But it was just like, oh, there's your awakening moment, and it all becomes clear.
Yes.
And there it is,
Your aha moment.
And you can
a little more than an aha moment, but yeah.
It's about, I mentioned toward the end of the book that there's also, all of this is about learning your soul lessons so that you can go from a lesson partner to a life partner, So, we can see them in missing rights, neurologically speaking. We see them as soul lessons, life lessons. It's all the same thing. But there is a path to restore your brain to have these feelings so you can have the love you deserve. That's it. Just everybody, that's why it's release the pain of past relationships and create the love you deserve. And
if you can do this for yourself and in your life, and especially in today, because it's broken everywhere. Everywhere it's broken. You get those very few marriages that are lasting 30, 40, 50, 60 years, you know what I mean? They just don't happen anymore. It's more like if they make it to 20, it's a miracle. But if you can do this for yourself and you get this book and you start these lessons and you ingest it and you learn it and you live it, you can teach your children this. So this is something that can be passed on, that can, and that child can avoid the pain, the torment, and the, everything that goes along with a bad relationship, and it can be avoided. What better gift can you give your kid, than that of having a great relationship, finding the one,
The best way to pass on is to secure love style is to be able to show them you can do it yourself. It really is.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, I'm just going to invest in my kids so they can have it better, they won't have it better if some part of them saying, I better not have it better than mom and dad because they didn't have love, I won't have love either. And the thing about this, what people read the book is, I've had so many people tell me, I didn't know what love felt like until I read. Now they have a beacon. Now they have the GPS. And that is maybe the compliment I've learned that I love the best about the book. I've heard groundbreaking, I've heard eye-opening, but when readers have said, and then people have read the book and become clients, sometimes they reach out to me, then they say things like, it was the first time I understood what real love felt like, and I want it. That's a life-changing moment.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's so true. I remember the first time I read the book, and I was brushing up on the book because I remember the first time I read the book, and I was in tears a lot. It really resonated with me. It really, really hit a spot with me. And then going over it again, it's like I had highlighted. There are dog ears throughout the entire thing. There is writing and scribbles throughout the whole thing, and I've had to have gone over it, like a whole bunch of times because there'll be different markers, different colors, different things, and if I read that phrase or that paragraph, I remember what I was going through at that time. So, over time, your issues in your relationship will change because we change.
Yes.
But everything is covered in here. So you can read, or it will mean something different too the next time you read it.
Yeah.
It will be here, and you
Yes.
get to go. George is here. Hi, George. Start over. I'm here now. The world can now continue.
Don't even
Oh, yeah.
start, Mr. Shoplin.
Yeah.
Yes,
Love can be complicated, but I don't think it has to be so complicated. That's the beauty. I mean, what your
Yeah.
brain is dealing with are 4 feelings. It's not rocket science. If you could track, I mean, like, if say something
but it
happens,
needs
like
two
I had a
willing
friend
hearts.
coming over, and
Yeah, that's the
and-
thing.
and I forgot I locked the door, and they had to knock a couple minutes. I realized, okay, I got preoccupied. I didn't hear them, and I knocked the door, and then I said, I'm sorry that you didn't feel very welcomed by having to wait at the door. They, no, I didn't, but I got, and I said, well, I'm sorry
90
about that.
seconds.
I tracked
See
the
that, George?
feeling in real time and delivered a repair immediately. If you can do that, you can master any relationship. You can make a relationship work, given there's a little alignment of values. Lasting is our birthright. This isn't rocket science. You can restore these feelings. You deserve these feelings, and you can learn how to give and receive them, and only give and receive them. And if there's any lesson here, it's that you deserve this love, and real change is available. You don't have to be stuck being anxious or avoiding. You're always pulling in the same wrong partner or pattern. These things can change.
Mhm.
Yes.
Do you want to hang with
Yes,
us
Joyce.
for a couple minutes and let me just end the radio show, if you don't mind?
Sure.
All right. Hold on a
Sit
second.
tight,
here.
everyone. Don't touch that computer, young lady.
Thank you again for joining us for another episode in the Fox Den. We're here every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing you a variety of guests, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and our Anchor venues. We would love it if you would go to our YouTube channel, The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, and please subscribe, share, and definitely hit the notification button to never miss a show. We'll see you all next week, and subscribers, watch for our pop-up shows as well.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Blog Talk.
Okay.
Blog Talk.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
Blog
want to
Talk
just
is
pop
over.
something up here. I just want to pop something up here. George, Adorable Shoplin, is in the chat room, and this is what he says. Love is easy. You just have to love yourself 100%. Then love will be as easy as breathing.
I agree, George, and I saw that down there. And a lot of times I've had people say, like when I'm doing podcasts, that, do you tell people to love yourself? I almost never tell people to love themselves. What I do is, if I can get them to give them back those rights I talk about and those feelings, then the loving themselves come easy. If they can welcome and worthy and cherished and empowered feel that and really feel in there, loving themselves becomes easy. So I think of loving yourself is it's more, how do I give myself these 4 feelings and these 6 rights that I talk about? Once you have that, you're right. It's breathing. It's like breathing. If you feel welcomed and worthy and cherished, it's like like if you, like during the fires in California, you walk outside, you don't have to breathe very long to realize, man, this isn't good to breathe. When there's a fire in Napa.
And George is in California.
Oh, yes. Your lung knows, hey, wait a minute. I need more. I'm worthy of more, George. And then you walk out one day and you don't have to even look at purpleair.com. You can say, that smells pretty good. And your brain goes, yeah, and your lungs say, yeah, that feels good. And when you walk out on another day and there's another fire in someplace else, then you think, well, but you can go with your feelings. Now, the key is making sure your brain has access to those four feelings, that it's safe to feel that way. And that's the deep work. If you can swap out unworthy, unwelcome, disempowered, and uncherished for welcomed, worthy, cherished, and empowered, and your brain feels it, your brain will operate, feel, and create in very different ways. So, yeah, and then it is breathing.
Yeah, it is. But I love all your perceptual filters at the ends, and you have these little questions, like how can I be my best me in a we, so that I can experience the freedom, possibilities, growth, and protection of a we. I mean, it's like all these chapters have these wonderful, wonderful ends. Didn't you make cards out of those perceptual?
Well, what I did is there's a place that when people read the book, and they can go get some extra filters on my website. You sign in and you give me your email address, and there's more of them. Now, the filters are an interesting way. Usually when I do my sessions, there's various patterns of deep change work I do to restore these feelings. I live and die by these four feelings. I'll be teaching about 100 therapists in about a month. And it's like live and die with restoring these four feelings. And then that's the deep magic to having a secure love style. And yes, there are some skills they'll need because they don't get them just with the feelings. You have to do both, but you got to do the feelings first. Now, whenever the brain has a feeling like unworthy, this part of the brain, and the reticular activation system all the way down in the reptilian brain, they're looking for, it gets a perceptual filter. Ways I can notice it's not safe to reach out for my needs. And that's what you'll notice. Ways I can create distance so I can feel close, so I can feel safe. There'll always be this ways you're looking for the experience of the missing right. If you don't swap out that perceptual filter, this is not the same as a vision board. It is a perceptual filter. Your brain wants to confirm the experience in your brain that says, I don't have a right. And so it only looks for experience that will confirm I'm not worthy. Confirm I don't belong. While I was writing the book, I did not have much of a right to belong in my family. My mom was looking for a girl, and she didn't name me for 3 weeks when I was born.
Wow.
Until she was so disappointed, not very welcomed. My Aunt Evelyn told me this at 15. It wasn't until the state of Ohio sent some police officers out, some sheriffs actually, and they said, ma'am, you got to name the child. And she goes, no, I'm not. And they said, well, ma'am, you can either name him here, or we can take you to a place where you'll have lots of time to think about it. Now. Wow. Oh yeah. And there was not a lot of right to belong. Now, it was interesting when I was writing the book, I was writing on the chapter safe to, on cherished and protected, the right to separate and belong. I knew I needed to tell my own story from time to time because I was being mentored by Sark on how to write this book, and she's known for vulnerability. She goes, you've got to put vulnerability in here, Gary, instead of hiding out behind client stories, as she put it. So there I am, and I'm writing about how I never belonged, and some part of me stops, and I've written about 3 pages, and I said, are you really going to give them that kind of a victim story? Ooh. And some part of me said, this isn't right. Something's wrong here with what I'm writing. Just a feeling.
I was going to trust that.
And I thought about it. And I thought about the story. I've never belonged. And there's tons of evidence for ways getting kicked out of my house and, nobody ever talked. There's a lot of evidence. But as a kid, suddenly I began thinking, well, wait a second. There was a time my Uncle Tom said, you were always, when I would visit his farm every summer for 3 or 4 weeks. This was an older brother who said, I'm trying, Gary, come over here and get a break from your mentally ill mother. This was the whole family trying to, to include me in ways because I had a mentally ill mother. And he said to me once, you're really the son I always wished I had. I was like 7 or 8 or 9, right?
And you need
My
that.
my brain just deleted that off the map.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, wait a second. And then I started thinking back, wait a second. No, I mean, my mother gave me a huge amount of no right to belong, but some of the rest of the family did.
Hmm.
And then I remember thinking, I've had tons of friends and family that I have been a friend, but I have been family. And I began to realize, oh my God, there has been a perceptual filter of ways I don't belong instead of ways I can belong. I mean, right now, I feel like I have belonging with you two. You've
Yep.
had me back on your show. If that's not a form
Yep.
of belonging, I don't know what is.
Yep. Your
You
family.
know?
Your family here. You know.
We live in a cosmic we. Just because one person
Yes.
doesn't accept you or a whole family doesn't mean that belonging doesn't exist. The universe is a we. I feel that I belong to so many people across the world. I have a place in their
Well,
heart.
You've
the soul
had to
family.
have touched, I mean, thousands of people
Yeah.
with this. Thousands of people could owe their healthy, happy relationships to you, for writing
Yes.
a book like this,
It's called the
Exactly.
heart family.
A Heart Family.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, changing that really changed a lot. After that, I felt I belonged in a way I'd worked on that, right? It was okay to be safe and close to one, but I got a whole new thing of writing the book. And what I learned was when you write the book rewrites you,
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's just, it's an ongoing process where I'm still learning what safe love is and how to be more and more secure and more loving. That's a
Do you
lifelong journey.
Do you think you're going to write something else? Like a.
Oh, yeah. I've got 4 chapters already written. It's called Safe to Stay in Love.
Ah.
Ah.
Yeah.
And now you have a nice well, how long have you been in your relationship now?
15, 16 months. We're laying down that we're looking at setting in all the things that need to put in lasting. My question is that every question, my perceptual question, did what I do put in lasting? Did what I do bring out the very best in her? Did what I do bring out the creative we? Those are my 4 things that, does it build trust? Does it build a we? If it doesn't build trust in a we and make her feel love, then back to the, and no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. Once she goes, I made a mistake, just did. I'm human. And she goes, but you wrote the book. I said, I promised you, and I said it, honey, I promised you secure. I never promised you perfect.
Right.
Secure is making,
that's a
Yeah.
no one can be perfect. No one can be perfect. It isn't going to happen. I'm really
Yes.
close. I'm really close.
Yes. Yeah. So we're about to. Yeah, you're close, and you got a great relationship with Bob and all that. No, it's been about a year. I guess we're a little over a year, and it's at that place, and that's still the trust building stage. We know from research. It's a little over a year, I guess. The middle, the first stage is getting attraction, but there's a middle phase where problems come up, and people, oh no, that's a sign. Not necessarily. The system is designed to test each other to see, can I trust you?
Oh, yeah.
So problems coming up is the test. It's the loyalty building. It's the trust building stage. And then the third stage is commitment. But you got to be able to handle the conflicts in a way that's positive.
Yeah. Because life is not all sunshine, lollipops, and daisies, and and rainbows. And it isn't. And it never will be. And the thing is one person going to be the only one stepping up to fix those things, or are both of you going to step up to fix those things?
Well, Gina, it sounds like that you've learned something about secure love all these years. That's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. And both of you have a secure love style. I can sense that. You can feel it between the both of you, right? And you talk and you share and you include. I mean, you can feel that. You know, if you once you read the book, for those of you who are still on the call, you know, you'll never see life the same way again. You'll
Right. Oh
see
my
these
God.
missing
Very true.
rights, and you'll see them in, you know, you can see it, you know, in society at times. Like when
Yeah.
you see on social media, people will say the darndest, most critical things in comments. This is not cherished.
Yep.
It's not. It's contempt.
Yeah, and you'll be putting those labels on those things too, and you see it, and things pop out. Like, you know, when you never pick up on things until you read it or live it, you know, or
Yeah.
if it's in your now, and then all of a sudden you see it everywhere, you know,
Yes.
Yeah.
and it will be something, and it's really putting that, you know, that nail is getting pounded down and embedded because you see it so many times, you
You
know. So
do.
it's a meant to
I
be.
can,
But that's life. That is how life works. You can
and
avoid it, be part of it.
you can teach it to your children. This is one of my best stories. I
That's
worked with a couple with a 3 and a 5-year-old. Yeah, 3 and a 5-year-old. And they decided to teach the 4 feelings to their 2 sons. And so they got sippy cups and they put welcomed and worthy and cherished and empowered. And they talked about it different days. What does it mean? So one day the day comes when the 3-year-old grabs a truck and whacks the 5-year-old across the head, the way brothers will do.
you know.
And the 5-year-old brother says, I don't feel very cherished and protected.
Oh.
Oh, you know, these 2 boys, when they grow up, some woman's going to be very lucky that they're tracking those feelings. Imagine
I'm telling
teaching.
you, that's the thing. You got to teach the kids this now so that they can, and it will continue because, you know, it can be a generational thing. And then those kids can teach their friends, oh, well, you know, well, you don't have a good relationship. You know, so those kids, there's 3 and 5-year-olds, they get into high school, they start having relationships, they start dating, and they've got all this under their belt. And then they see all their friends having miserable relationships or controlling relationships or just it's bad, you know, because they're doing what their parents do.
Yeah.
You know?
And
Those kids
if they're tracking these feelings, they'll date better and you'll be very happy. I remember dealing with one father who was, and one of the marital issues was how he was dating. He was dealing with his teenage daughter, was about 15. And he was playing, you know, the controlling father, right? Who was very critical of her. And he wouldn't let his kids say no. So he didn't have much of a right. And he was giving them no right to assert. And he says, I'm not going to have them, you know. And I said, so you're not going to give them a right to say no? No, I would never get. I said, so when they take this missing right to say no, when she's a couple of years later and she can't say no to the boy that has sex, are you going to be very happy with that?
Mm-hmm.
He goes,
Mm-hmm.
I know. I said, you want her to be able to say no to you, because if she can't say no to you, she can't say no to somebody else. He goes, okay, how do I do that?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I said, trust me, empowered with choice may not feel great now, but it's going to feel really good later and on. And it's going to do her a lot of good. You know, sometimes I just have to get real practical when I'm dealing with people, you know, and children take this to the bank. Another client taught their daughters, and they were like, these parents and their son, they were more like 8 or 9 or 10. And they're going to a PTA meeting and they're walking down the hall and the daughter says, Daddy, see that teacher over there? He goes, yeah. He says, she doesn't do welcome with joy at all.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh,
so
Mommy is dealing with her doggy.
Oh, well, welcome that doggy with joy.
Hi, yeah, that's my honor.
The scene that the dog is looking for a little bit of attention. That's he's got a little attachment like the rest of us. Hey, give me a tail wag here. So we love that doggy. So this has been a beautiful conversation, Gina.
I know.
Is there anything else we needed to cover as we're wrapping this thing up?
I think, well, okay, first of all, thank you so much again for being on here. Thank you for writing such a wonderful book. And where can people get your book again? Is it only
They can get it on Amazon. And there's some free videos. I call it there's a free guide. I've got a guide to lasting love for, and it's got singles and couples in there. You can go to GarySalyer.com. And if you're there, you can scroll down and I think it's called Love Inspirations. I'm about ready to change this, but it's still going to be there in a slightly different one form. And there's some beautiful 2 to 4 minute videos that go over, the feelings and the skills. I had a couple in Oregon tell me that it saved after both of them being twice divorced, it saved their engagement and now they're married. So it's a beautiful little free gift. You go to GarySalyer.com, SALYER, and you just scroll down and get on the mailing list. And you can write to me there. You have a question. If you have a question, Dr. Gary at GarySalyer.com, Dr. Gary, and then Amazon. So, and there's lots of cool videos on the website too.
You should be the love doctor. It's
interesting you said it, because my business coach and I talked about that, but I am not I'm not into guru spot. I have some really unique work that I'm training, but the doesn't fit right. And love doctor, I'm I've never, my identity doesn't wrap around that. I'm here to help people feel worthy to have a lasting love. Yeah, but a guide. I'm a mentor. I call myself a transformational relationship mentor.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
you'd still be the love doctor to me. So
and that's fine. I'll take that. And Mama D, how's that little doggy?
Oh,
how's your doggy doing?
Onyx, you wanna come on TV? Come.
Do we get to see the little doggy?
Oh, yeah, we usually do at the end of the shows. He knows the end of the shows. He knows it.
Oh, isn't that great?
All the way up until the end of the show, and her cat knows time. Is Onyx.
Oh, look at that doggy!
Boy. Oh, I love him, and he's just content to be right there, and then he'll sit there like that, and then he'll just fall asleep.
Oh yeah,
is it? He's already.
Oh yeah. Shih Tzu? Is he a Shih Tzu? Yep.
Yeah, he's a Shih Tzu.
Yeah. Cutie pie. Hello, Mr. Shih Tzu.
His name is Onyx, and an onyx stone keeps away negativity.
Onyx. Ooh, I've never heard of a dog named Onyx. Yep. Nice meeting you, Onyx. Welcome your mom. Art, and I got to tell you, if you want to see dogs are great at Welcome with Joy, aren't they? And what were you saying, Gina?
I've got you call it Onyx. I've got my stone here that I've had in my hand ever since I had the computer issues with this show.
That's Onyx? I thought Onyx was black.
No, it is. This is
Onyx is a black stone.
Oh.
It's a quartz mix. But when she said Onyx, like as in the stone, I was like, yeah, but I've had this stone in my hand because it's a quartz mix, but it brings me luck. So I think, just having this in my hand.
Computer's working.
Show.
Yes.
So I just, I don't know how the beginning of it is. I apologize for my technical. I have no idea what's going on for the past 2 weeks with my technical issues, but I will try to get to the bottom of it.
Yes.
We'll buy lottery tickets and buy new computers.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't know if it's internet or the computer itself or whatever. I don't know. But the show went off wonderful. The information got put out there. Everybody, please, all the Mama D always puts all the links into.
Yeah, I'll have to put them at the end of the show. Yep, I'll put them into the. Yeah, I'll put them in the links of the Facebook. You can put them on the YouTube as well.
Thank you. Thank you. I am worthy.
Everybody share the show. So whether you're listening, if you're listening on our anchor venues, please go to our YouTube channel, which is the Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, and watch it there, because you want to see, the book cover and us and Gary and his awesome setting that he has there. I love that.
And Onyx.
And Onyx made it
And Onyx, exactly.
It's Onyx, but seriously, thank you so much, and
yeah,
I want to know when you get that other book done. Please let me know about that.
You will. You definitely will. Yeah.
All right. Fabulous.
Thank you.
All right.
Alrighty.
Well, you guys all have a wonderful night. Please share the show and subscribe and all that, and look up Dr. Gary Salyer, please. And we'll see you all Thursday. Yeah, 2 days. In 2 days, we'll be back with Ariane Thomas. And have a wonderful night. Love you.
Night,
Bye.
everyone.
Good night.